guys, and welcome to 𝗪𝗁𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀, your #1 source for all things films and movies. And one thing that's really interesting to do when you take a close look at an upcoming movie, especially one like The Suicide Squad, is look behind the scenes at some interesting moments or funny moments or maybe some stunt moments along the way and try to pair them up with the actual moments we saw in the film. And one thing that's very interesting about the brand new Suicide Squad movie is definitely the dynamic between the cast and the crew when putting this film together and what went into developing this film from point A to point B. Now, we've heard in various interviews along the way that James Gunn really got the opportunity to go above and beyond, emphasizing things like practical effects. For instance, we get a really cool sneak peek preview where we can see a lot of the work that went into doing the flooding building sequence, where we can see right on that it was a very active environment.
The horror, the fun, the wit, the sadness, the music, it's the craziness. It's just a huge movie carnival.
Able to until...
In this other sequence, we can see some of the cast members briefly having fun behind the scenes and laughing and just talking with James Gunn before filming what would be a pretty big moment in the actual movie.
Whereas James will set it up in a way that A, the guy deserved to be shot, and
this moment here, where you can see the cast members laughing, ends up being a pretty integral part of the film where Harley Quinn meets the members of the Suicide Squad, and the way that that just plays out is pretty funny.
Any questions?
And?
Yes, that is your hand. Very good.
We're all gonna die.
I hope so. Oh, for God's sake.
Another really interesting thing is how some of the fight sequences and action sequences can seem so intense in a movie like this. For instance, there's this moment where we can see behind the scenes Peacemaker kind of just taking out a bunch of enemies in what would become a pretty strong moment and fight scene in the film. But in actuality, it's just this slower paced, heavily choreographed fight sequence. In the trailers and in the movie, we do know that the military/militia plays a pretty big role in a part of a sequence, and it's interesting to look behind the scenes and get to see James Gunn kind of talking to those actors and rallying them for the project, and it just goes to show how James Gunn really makes every member of the cast feel included and a part of the film, as their involvement is also just as important.
so to him, it is fun, and it's very unusual. Believe me, trust me. I mean, most directors, including myself, it's a horror. You do it out of necessity, or they do it out of like, oh, I'm the director.
And how much relaxed and fun, but also hardworking everybody gets.
Now we can compare that to some of the sequences that were used in the trailer to build hype for the movie with the same group of people.
How the hell am I supposed to know?
You're the leader. You're supposed to be decisive.
And I've decided that you should eat a big bag of dicks.
If this whole beach was completely covered in dicks, and somebody said I'd eat every dick until the beach was clean for liberty, I would say no problemo.
Why would someone put penises all over the beach?
Another really interesting thing is the visual effects that did go into bringing this film together, because not only does a heavily action-oriented film like The Suicide Squad have some very impressive stunts, but also the visual effects that went into kind of polishing up and covering up some of the things that were used to pull off these stunts is something that's really interesting to look at. For instance, in some of these behind-the-scenes moments, we've actually gotten to get a close-up look at some of the different types of rope work that a lot of the actors are involved in for doing their stunts, whether it's things like being swung or lifted across the screen for the movie. It's really cool to see how they put that together and used ropes to make these sequences so interesting versus what we actually end up seeing in the film when they are able to edit out the appearances of all of the ropes. And we're just left with these pure action moments that are really awesome to look at.
The guys at Red have achieved the highest possible quality, that's without a doubt can be demonstrated, and at the same time with the smallest possible camera.
Whoa.
The way that this movie is shot is the way that I wanted to shoot every movie in my brain and haven't been
Overall, it's really awesome just to see a lot of the high energy that went on behind the scenes, where you can see that for the most part, it seems like with this huge cast of characters, a lot of people had a lot of fun behind the scenes. But first, we wanted to give a quick reminder, we do have a really awesome Instagram page that updates you guys on everything happening Marvel immediately. So if you guys want to follow us on Instagram, check it out, link in the description. There's also a ton of really awesome memes and other things that are posted on there. So make sure you guys are following that page. And let's go ahead and jump into this story.
He knows how to do the comedy things, the ha-has, and all the actions, the boom-booms.
What are you guys doing?
We're here to save you.
That's not something you normally do in a big movie. But it is about balancing. Is this something that I'm doing?
We can look at this action sequence as well, which has a bunch of soldiers being thrown in an explosion, and we can see that all of these individual soldiers were roped up for these action sequences. And that's really cool that they're able to choreograph a large number of characters being kind of flung in a stunt and then patch it together in a way where it looks so believable and realistic with practical effects in the actual movie.
Everyone's exploding. Genitals, heads, arms, legs.
One character that's incredibly interesting is definitely Nathan Fillion's TDK, which has the ability to throw his arms around, and it's such an interesting concept, and getting to see a little bit of behind the scenes mixed together with some of the actual moments from the film is pretty great, just because Nathan Fillion running around and hitting people with his arms behind the scenes is probably equally as funny as what we do see in the real movie.
I'm gonna go with Afghan Hound. TDK is just a guy whose arms and legs come off. That's his only power.
Formidable? No. Annoying? Oh. Yes.
There's also this really interesting moment that Pete Davidson shared with an interviewer about his time acting alongside Idris Elba for this film. And it's just a story that we really didn't want to pass up on because it's actually pretty funny.
During one of the takes, he actually scared me. He wasn't supposed to ever interact with me. I was just supposed to be like, a dick and walk by. And during one of the scenes, he grabbed my arm and shook me, and I got really scared. And when they yelled cut, everybody started laughing. The whole entire cast and crew started laughing.
Nonetheless, it's incredibly exciting whenever we see a large cast of characters that are really passionate about the movie project that they are a part of, especially when you hear in various interviews so many actors supporting James Gunn and talking about how talented he was in just bringing this film together and making it one of the biggest projects not only he's ever been a part of, but also the DCEU has ever seen today. And that's something that we think is really admirable. For instance, it's cool to see sometimes when actors just love their role so much they're willing to continue to play the character well beyond the film wrapping filming. John Cena's one of those actors who just doesn't seem to want to ever take his suit off.
Well, you know what? I like the outfit. They're not you get to keep it even though you won't keep it on. They're not making you give it back, are they?
So here's the deal. If I take it off, it's essentially indecent exposure. So I'm just gonna keep it on. That way I don't have to give it back. It's a win-win for everybody.
In this other moment, we can even see John Cena at the premiere for the Suicide Squad, also in his suit, and Margot Robbie even photobombs John Cena in one brief moment.
Everything about the Peacemaker series.
It's first you gotta see the Suicide Squad. Yeah. And if you like what you see, you're gonna get more in Peacemaker.
When do you start shooting?
We're already wrapped.
Oh, you're wrapped. You are.
In the can.
Nice outfit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You as well. I think you went a bit of a different route. That's fair. That's very fair.
You could have done the white gown.
I had it on. This fit better. Thank you.
All in all, this film is looking incredibly promising and could be one of the biggest turning points in the DCEU that we've seen in a while, likely since that 2019 Joker film. So we definitely are excited to see what comes from the future of this movie and what legacy it will lead to down the road. And perhaps we'll see another Suicide Squad sometime in the future. But for now, we wanted to turn it around to you guys and see what your thoughts were on this movie. Okay, so what did you think of the Suicide Squad? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for more videos like this uploaded every day of the week. That's it for today though. We'll see you all next time with a brand new video.